National Treasury officials have detailed how their relationship with the South African Revenue Service was strained under suspended Commissioner Tom Moyane's leadership. Speaking at the SARS Commission of Inquiry into Tax Administration and Governance, Treasury DDG Ismail Momoniat has suggested that Moyane contributed to the value-added tax rate hike. The Treasury Deputy Director General has explained how government had to increase the VAT rate to plug a ballooning shortfall. Earlier this year, the economists forecast a 60 billion rand shortfall tax revenue collection. Momoniat has said that the VAT hike was a necessary evil to prevent a sovereign ratings downgrade. He says the current VAT rate is likely to add nearly 25 billion rand to the fiscus if there are no further additions to the list of zero-rated items. For more on the story, we request our reporter Mbalenhle Mthethwa in Pretoria. Good afternoon, Bali. What else emerged from that SARS inquiry today?
Hi, Nzinga. Definitely what happened today is that the strained relationship that existed between SARS and National Treasury did take center stage. We had National Treasury DG Dondo Murajane stressing how important it is to actually keep a good relationship between SARS and National Treasury basically in order to draft the budget speech, the February budget speech that we see. He gave us a picture of what happens in the lead up to the February budget speech. He talked about how they meet 10 months before the actual drafting of the budget speech, and how they discuss all of these things, including tax policies, which are then implemented by SARS. But he said that during his submissions to the Commission today, he spoke about how between 2016 to 2018, they'd seen less and sometimes no participation from SARS Commissioner, suspended SARS Commissioner rather, Tom Moyane. He joins me now to speak to us about his submissions. No problem. Let me just go straight to him because he's got more information on all of these things, submissions that he made. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you very much for having me.
No problem. In your submissions, you talk about the big shortfall that you saw, which was going around $50 billion. And
right?
Yeah, 50 billion rand, that is, my apologies. Please tell us more about that.
Look, as I indicated earlier, and thank you for having me on your show, look, a well-functioning SARS is important for South Africa. It's important for democracy. I must emphasize that. Secondly, that it's important in that our balancing our budgets and our budget balance becomes quite critical in that tax revenues are critical for our democracy to fund our programs. Now, if there's a 50 billion rand shortfall, it tells you that there's a problem. And we know now, and as we heard us today explaining, that it's partly as a result of the tax administration efficiency, SARS itself. Secondly, also as a result of the performance of the economy. So it's important that at least those parts that we've got control over, which is fixing SARS and its administration is quite important. And I think this commission that me and you are at today was doing exactly that, trying to find out what the challenges are and how best to actually sort out SARS and the challenge that it's facing.
Okay. In your submissions, you also mentioned how you had no choice but to hike up the VAT rate because of this big shortfall, to plug this big shortfall. And you also mentioned that you'd also seen dwindling, personal income taxes being submitted and so on. And you had no choice because you also had concerns about the South Africa sovereign ratings, rating being downgraded, as well as the debt to GDP ratio. Please tell us more about that.
Yes, you'll remember that during the budget we did indicate that we are increasing VAT by 1% to 15%, not only because of the under-collection, but also because of pressures on the expenditure side. We had to address the new expenditure demands on us, especially around the fee-free education. We addressed that, including other spending pressures. So yes, if we did not do that, we would have called on ourselves actually to borrow more, and borrowing more would have really gone to what we said during last year's medium-term budget policy statement. We are going to go up to 60.8% debt to GDP ratio, and that was unsustainable in the long term. So in our budget February forecast, we brought it down to 55.8% debt to GDP. It was manageable. We were able to increase VAT we are also able to make sure that we are able to meet all the expenditure demands on us as required by the plans that we have put in place for the next 3 years.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. Unfortunately, we have to cut this interview short. It's back to you in studio, Nzinga.